willing to that council's willing to go along with if the chief is.
But if
Okay.
it was two part-times, that would be the same amount of coverage time.
No,
Correct.
it wouldn't. They'd be working part-time. How can that be?
Because there's two of them.
Yeah.
Working
20 hour and a 20-hour would be a full.
And Sue, why is it such a problem now when over the past 2 years you didn't have a problem with two people riding the streets without having backup?
I did have a problem then.
Okay,
How about you? Why didn't you take care of the renter problem in our town? You ran on it, Wendy, for 4 years.
Okay.
Did we have anybody to enforce it?
Why didn't you help it
Did we
happen,
have
Wendy?
anybody?
Help it happen, Wendy. That's what we're here for.
Okay, so have we discussed everything on the police officer issue?
Why don't we just take a vote on this and then we'll put it to bed?
One more question.
Well, it's,
7 full-time, yeah.
So,
I'll do
Or you're less scared.
when it comes to filling those positions, if we have to fill the positions with people that need to go to the academy, would there still be room in the budget to be able to do that? Or does that 7th position then limit the amount of,
Doesn't cost.
it doesn't cost us anything?
Basically, we pay their salary while they're in the academies.
Okay.
They really be part of the workforce until
Okay.
they graduate. Same with Sean and Emily.
the other potential solution for funding, because we've never filled that position and because it's so difficult to fill, in order to balance the budget, just borrowing from our fund balance to fill that position this year, it's probably a bad approach, but filling that position this year from fund balance,
That sounds like
and then if it's unspent, it's no harm, no foul. But
sounds like a
then if it is filled, then we need to figure that out for the next.
It seems like with the experience that Jay's got bringing to the table and with what the research that Chris has already done, we can do this, and then the ifs and whens and whats, when they happen, we can back up and punt at that point and do what needs to be done to make it still balanced. Is that an accurate statement?
You
We
probably,
don't know how long it's gonna take to fill these positions anyway.
Yeah, that's
We
what
may budget for it and never fill all.
Well, that's what happened, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's what happened last year.
exactly.
And we still have that other position to fill, and that
Yeah.
post has been up continuously. So nobody's been hitting it, we haven't been doing interviews.
But unfortunately, to balance the budget, you have to make sure that if that fills that fund.
Every revenue has everything matches and balances, yeah.
And if we have the 6, that'll put us back to full staff without that 7th that we added in and was never filled. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know how anybody sees this as justification for the safety of our officers and our town. We have ill-spent money in large amounts of ill-spent money in this town right now, and it's a discussion. I understand we cannot have it now because I don't have all the numbers that I've been trying to put together. Okay, I'm waiting for those numbers to come in. But I kind of have a feel for what those numbers are going to be because I've talked to the right people. There is no way that I can morally and justifiably cut back on our police department and the safety of our citizens when we have situations that exist, for example, like the insurance issue, where we have one employee, just one, receiving $30,000 in additional benefit. And we have other employees that are only receiving $486, or $4,800 a year. It is not equitable for the employees. It is not equitable for our community. It's not fair to our citizens. We owe them safety.
And Sue,
Well, Sue-
I agree with you, but this budget, by July 1st, we're not going to be able to address that.
I understand that.
And
And we also just presented 4 or 5 different ideas in order to keep that position within the police department. even with, the other issues that we need to address in the future. So, I'm not
On a
seeing
personal
the,
note, I will not vote. I will be a no vote. I will be probably the only no vote, but I will not vote to eliminate a 7th position or cut it into 2 part-timers or however you want to slice the apple. I will not be party to that because I feel a responsibility. When we were hired by the citizens, 2,300 of them. We were not hired by our employees. We were hired by our citizens, and we owe this to our citizens. Because I'm old, so I run around with a lot of old people, our elderly do not feel safe on the streets of Crewe any longer, and that really saddens me. We have, I can name the addresses of the drug houses that we have in existence in Crewe. We need to wrap our arms around that, and we need to make our community safe above everything else. So I will stand here as the only no vote. I'm okay with that. Do what you guys want, but I think it's morally wrong.
Make sure I understand. The idea was to speak to the chief,
correct.
and with his approval, go with part-time.
Right.
But
If he thinks that
that is not
that's
feasible in
right.
his mind, we would still have the position.
Exactly.
Unfilled
Yes.
position.
Well,
Yeah.
both of them.
Right.
Well, we have 2 unfilled positions right now, as
Yeah.
I'm understanding.
But we would leave it to him,
Right. Leave it to the expert. Exactly.
and he may have a better time, Sue, finding part-time people for that one position. One will be a full-time person. The 7th extra position that we have never had before, if he feels he could fill it more easily with part-time, we have used part-time officers before successfully.
Yeah, because
And
it's
1 or
not going to
2
make.
part-time positions is better than
Nobody.
extra.
Right.
Exactly.
It's not going to make a difference whether that 7th position is there or not if the chief cannot fill it. So if
I totally understand that, but I'm not going to be responsible for removing it from the budget.
We're
And
not
this-
removing it from the budget.
We're giving the chief options to work. So we're giving him the funding and telling him and giving him additional options to figure out what's best for his department
Within the budget.
within the budget. Correct.
Okay.
Okay, next issue.
Wasn't one of our big ones the ARPA funding?
Yeah.
I have no problem with it all going at this point. We haven't done a study on the municipal building. I don't have any problem with, well, then there's no problem with moving it to,
Let's,
Leave it alone.
but I think it can be.
we don't need to do anything with it right now.
Okay.
For the vision of the budget, though, I think the idea was to put it in its own line item and then work out of that line item when projects were to be funded and stuff, as opposed to having it flow through 4 different departments' budgets. Did it get spent? Did it not? Was it the right thing? Was it not? Lay it there for council and town manager's discretion on funding projects, and that cleans up some places in the budget.
Your original recommendation was to put it all towards water, right? I mean, that's
It
what you're...
has to be used for water, sewer, or broadband.
No, but I'm just saying, I get that, I understand that, but
I
so I have since come around and done some looking, talking, studying this, and I back you on that, just to let you know. I think it should all go to the water.
Position is that that's the single largest problem we have is our water delivery.
Correct.
It flows into the whole Prince Edward situation.
And it is a huge problem.
But, I don't know how many water lines $2 million to put in the ground. It's gotta be more than none.
Yeah, well, 2 million
A lot
more
more
than we
water
had
than you
before.
can sewer.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot more water than you can sewer.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that's what it was intended for. I think that's what
Infrastructure.
wanted it to be, and that's where our biggest need is. When we have fire hydrants, there's not enough flow to put out a fire, that's a concern.
And water lines that are too corroded up to deliver the water to the fire hydrants.
The start of the problem.
Yes.
So but that's his thing, our thing
Down
down
the
the road
road.
for the sake of tonight is just for the budget. And then, anybody else got anything else
That was to put all the ARPA funding under one line item and then
So
roll.
basically unappropriated.
Yes,
Decide what to do with it later.
Correct.
Which is what I reported to them.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't made the
It's gonna make
decision.
your reporting easier too, because those quarterly reports are gonna go in.
We're actually doing annual until we actually use the money. So I already did ours and said it was unappropriated because we hadn't come to terms with the budget yet.
Is there a deadline on spending that money?
2026.
Okay.
yeah.
And it has to be completed by 2026.
Okay, so set it aside and dip in when we need it, and with the understanding that probably use it primarily for water.
And that would 86 the $750,000 to go to the town hall renovation.
Right, so just take any ARPA and just put it all in a,
And as Brian said, that was a placeholder.
Line
It
item.
wasn't.
But some of that was allocated to water and it wasn't all.
Yeah,
Oh, no, I mean, obviously, but it was also allocated to like replacing every water meter in the town of Crewe.
Yeah, for like $1 million.
Well, we have a problem with our water meters though too, that needs to be addressed down the line.
What's that?
We have a problem with our water meters that definitely needs to be addressed down the line. This is not a problem that's gonna go away with our water meters.
I wasn't aware we had a problem.
Well, I was of the opinion that we did.
We had appropriated in the proposed budget, ARPA funds going towards 2 capital improvements for water sewer that were very important. They were on the 5-year capital improvement plan from Ellie. The influent pump stations, he's like, if we don't do those, and that was about $150,000. So I really like to keep that in there.
Well, what I would recommend doing is moving the entire package out. And those, everybody I've talked to behind this says that those upgrades need to be done, or we're gonna have a big problem with 1 and 2 plants.
And then it's
Then let's make that the very first
yeah.
project out.
water line replacement
Exactly.
was $150,000, actuator valve $75,000, filter control console $75,000. So that's $450,000 for water that we appropriated with
Wait a minute, say what the first thing was again?
water line replacement $150.
What water line was that? That was the
This
water
is what
lines
Ellie
and
had
the
put
study.
in. Yeah.
that was a water line at the
That was
plant.
the water line. I thought that was the study that they were gonna get H&P to do. The 20,000 of that was the study to tell us how much it would cost, and then 150,000 to start, 130,000 to start the replacement, even though 2.2 million wouldn't touch the project. I think that probably is fluff. Would be my guess based on those conversations. With the exception of, because we're not gonna do a J, I think that it's worth $20,000 to have somebody come in and do a so-called study, which was part of that 150.
30,000 of it, I think.
And so then the other 120 was just allocated funds out of ARPA for
Well,
With,
water line replacement.
we've got employees that work on those water lines every day that could tell us what the ones are that are in the worst shape that would need to be replaced.
My understanding was whatever LSAO needed out there, those panels and whatever needed to be replaced, and whatever was needed at the water plant. I thought it was about 250,000. That still needs to be done because everybody says if they go bad, we got a problem.
Yes, you're gonna spend a lot more than.
and that's a good start.
right, but I'm sorry, at the, are you the wastewater treatment plant or the water treatment
My
plant?
understanding reading that there was a panel, there were some immediate repairs that needed to be done in both. All of that, 200, 250.
Yeah, there's 100.
I would,
It's a panel.
300,000 was in water distribution. The other 150 was in the sewer.
I would be cautious about buying anything too expensive for the water treatment plant.
You talking about wastewater or,
Water treatment plant.
I mean,
If it can be
We're all
the expert.
band-aided for the next 3 years.
If it goes bad,
Get your drift.
if it goes bad, we don't have water, is my understanding.
It seems,
Actually, Ellie was gonna be here tonight because he wanted to make sure that that's even.
And the one
Oh.
at wastewater is really important.
Well, wastewater's fine.
ARPA funding, right?
Water,
That was all appropriated with ARPA
Is-
funding, that's what I'm saying.
go ahead,
Yeah,
Council.
but they can, Yeah, but they can make a
We can all make
decision.
the decision later.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure they're understanding that.
It seems to me that this might be the time for us to do a study so that we find ourselves working in proactive mode instead of reactive mode to every, to just fixing the things that are broken or are, in crisis mode. And the only reason things are in crisis mode is because they were not taken care of in the past. So it seems to me that perhaps some sort of a study would be in order so that we can look at this as a whole project and what is needed, then to piecemeal it together, which never, ever leads to something good, having been a part owner in a water and wastewater consulting firm. When you piecemeal this stuff together, it creates other problems. So, yeah, so not to be
Well,
redundant, but
And all of these ARPA, like we said, all the ARPA stuff goes in a bucket, and we approve it as requested as the issues arise.
Putting the cart before the horse, is that what you're saying?
I think so.
Well, I appreciate that.
Okay. There was a question during the budget discussions about lawnmowers.
about what?
Lawnmowers.
One is in the new budget, I think, right,
Correct.
Chris?
Yes.
And CJ needed two. And he couldn't get the funding before to get one he needed then. He was forced to wait until July to get one.
We
But I
have,
think y'all have had some conversations, right?
yes, we have enough salary savings in his department to get him one this fiscal year.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask y'all if you
Yeah,
would be
let's-
so gracious as
Do
to.
we need a vote? Or can Jay just do that?
Yeah, if the
It's-
money's in the budget
Yeah.
and
Get
city
it.
council knows about it, that's fine.
Okay.
Roll with it.
Perfect. So that solves the issue?
Mower, yeah.
Okay, that'll work.
I bought a lot of mowers. With city funds over the years.
Using a 27-year-old John Deere with 120,000 miles on it, and a 22-year-old
Yeah,
Dixie chopper, I think, or two of the units.
wow.
Okay, next up, meals tax. Do we want to make our meals tax the highest in the state?
Yes,
No.
just to spite you, yes.
Tony
I
says
want
no.
14.5%. And we're gonna call it the Phil Muskovic tax.
But seriously, another increase to meals tax would make us the highest in the region and one of the highest, if not the highest in the state.
But
Thoughts?
lucky for us, we're doing it at the same time that gas price is crazy, so people aren't going to be traveling far to go out to eat. They'll be stuck eating here.
I would just keep driving past a cruise station. They're never open when I go anyway.
How much
I can
did
just-
we,
If I'm shaving for the police position, I may as well just start shaving to reduce that
How
tax
much-
back down.
How much was the 0.5%?
It was like $24,000. So I'll just try to find $80,000.
Where's
No, didn't we do the math and it was like such a small amount on the end bill that like, I feel like you and I did the math. It was going to be like, an extra,
Yeah.
like,
Tax, what's the
half
rate?
a cent or something.
Maybe every $2.
Yeah, I think we're at
I think
about
what the
7,
mayor is
something like that.
arguing is the philosophical, not the practical, and he doesn't like the idea.
He doesn't wanna be, Crewe going
He
up
doesn't
half
care
is the
that
highest.
this $20 pizza is gonna cost him 11 more cents than it did yesterday.
Right.
It's the fact that we're charging more.
Well, I also don't eat in Farmville because their meals tax is so high.
I will show you this.
Yeah,
This is my take on it again. I would rather a meals tax where every single person eating
not at all
pays
just
that
citizens.
tax,
too.
as opposed to a real estate.
of course, there won't be anybody
versus
coming
property
because the
tax
gas is too
that
high.
only a certain percentage get charged,
Yeah.
or that it's wholly different depending on what kind of car you drive.
Right.
You know, I don't like real estate personal property taxes in their current form, and that's a fair tax, just like a
Well, real estate
Well,
tax
so
gets
is it-
passed off to renters through.
Real estate tax is a fair tax too. It's
rent.
just unfortunate, we're working on a 15-year-old one.
It's a tax that if you have a nicer home, it costs you more tax than if you don't have a nice.
We also haven't dealt with that in 15 years, Sean.
If you had a federal sales tax I
Well,
like fair
to-
taxes that everyone pays, not just the fortunate.
Not to get too far into philosophy, though, Councilman Foss, you also choose the kind of house that you live in. You can have a big house that costs you a lot in real estate, or you can buy an old church and renovate it, and it's a
Right, but you can't opt out of the property tax. You can't be like,
It'd be a cool place.
no, not for me. But you can choose to not. You can choose to not eat out. Yeah. Rent it out,
Rent, you
pass
don't
it
pay
on.
for our property tax.
well, you pay it through your rent.
It's rent. What the landlord uses it for is up to him. But
So-
you don't get a bill.
What is the rest of council's thoughts on the meals tax? Councilman Reed.
I'm not really in favor of raising the meals tax right now, personally.
Vice Mayor Bowen.
I mean, it'd hurt me on both ends. So, but if we've got to go up on anything, I would just as soon it be meals tax than real estate.
Well, I don't think the question is one or the other right now. It's
If we have to, then I'm on board. But if we can find it somewhere else, I'd rather go that way.
hey, Councilman Yates.
I'll vote with Aaron. Let's make history again tonight.
Councilman Foss.
I would prefer it come from meals tax than somewhere else.
Okay.
It is the question though, because if it's not meals tax, it's gonna come from somewhere else. So it is the question.
So she's in favor of the meals tax. Vice Mayor Stinson, former Vice Mayor Stinson, Councilman Stinson.
Yes, that would be me. I'm in favor of a meals tax because I get to choose whether to go out to eat or not.
Okay.
And I just
You're
pay.
in favor of increasing the meals tax? So what's the vote count now? 1, 2, 3.
It doesn't sound good for the meals tax people.
You're gonna get it anyway. For the record, y'all all knows, I'm gonna be a yes. I believe takes it to the mayor's desk.
See what you can do.
Why didn't we go there to begin with?
And
I think Phil's right, though. I mean, on this one, it's the look. It's a bad
The
look.
optics are,
The optics
well, I
are
mean,
terrible.
it's a trough that we keep coming to because it's an easy trough to come to, and it shouldn't be an easy trough to come to.
And when do some of these businesses eventually down the line just say, you know what, I don't want to do business in Crewe anymore? It's, that can happen too.
Right.
I
I mean, all
I
it
don't
takes
think it's
is,
highly probable right now, but it is possible.
and a lot of our meals tax comes from Crewe Station and places like where people are just traveling and stopping, and all it takes is 1 year where someone says, "Wow, meals tax is pretty high. I'm going to stop eating at Subway here and just keep
But
driving for another 20
In
minutes."
all honesty, I mean, it doesn't, people really don't say anything about it. They don't look at that. You would probably be the only person out of 50 that looks at that. But with us having to, and I'd rather it come from there than somewhere else, but with the price of goods now and everything else, and with it,
Well, that's my very point. I'm very scared to cut things from the expenditure lines because I already fear that we may be borderline even coming into the fiscal year where where good the cost of goods, and y'all know on
Oh,
a
yeah.
personal level, the cost of goods in February when I wrote this with Brian
Was
not
different.
the cost of goods now.
yeah.
And who knows 6 months, a year from now, what that looks like. I don't want to be coming to y'all next year going, well, we have no money left for this year. We still have 2 months to go. What do you want to do?
Especially with
Oh,
General
chemicals.
fund
We could have
balance.
increased the meals tax by 0.5%, and we wouldn't be
And-
here right now. I'm just saying, I'm scared. I'm trying to be on the conservative side of this,
Yeah.
or do we, we get in a pickle where, yes, we have to raise real estate tax next year by 1 or 2% because, of inflation.
The kicker with and the only reason I really want to steer away from the real estate is because everybody in the town of Crewe gets double taxed anyway,
Yeah.
with Crewe tax and county tax, and it's that's why if it come down to a tie, I'd probably say go ahead, change it, do the meals tax, because, you know, the only reluctancy I have in it is because of my business. But
you have to, as a council member.
as a council member, I'm looking out for, yeah. So if it comes to a tie, I say leave it there. If we're that close on the budget,
We were
go up.
when I wrote it. We wrote it very, you know,
Yeah.
showing, yeah, we have plenty of wiggle room. We don't have that wiggle room. It's getting down to the wire.
Yes.
Jay, what are your thoughts?
Well, I talked to a guy today at the post office named E.V. Fisher.
EB.
Fisher.
And
EB's been around a long
he,
time.
and he knows a
Okay.
guy that I've known for a long time. And so after I met him and I was walking back to the office, I called my friend that knew him. And so Ronnie Slough goes, "Hey, do they still have that Long John Silver's in Crewe?" And so the point is that when people are traveling through 460 all the time, you know, when people are going through and they're stopping and they're making the decision to stop and eat, we don't think about meals tax. Most people.
I have never once in my life thought about the meals. I stop when I'm hungry.
Me neither.
And
The cigarette tax is another good one, but you know.
We've already maxed
We're
that
as
out.
high as we
That
can
out.
go.
We've maxed that out.
I don't mind going up on cigarette tax.
I would agree with you, and, you know, when I travel, I don't look at that. However, at my age and in all my years, I haven't seen inflation look so bad. We're on, at this point, people are talking about it. People are not going out to eat as much. People are watching much closer what they're spending now. I mean, you know,
And we can
So-
control-
so
I
when
mean,
we-
even if we don't increase meals tax, you're right. I mean, people could just cut back on that to begin with, even outside.
well, yeah, I mean, we're in an economically, our country is in a terrible mess right now. And I think people are taking a closer look at all those things now.
But again, that's why I like a tax like a meals tax, because it does give somebody the option.
Okay, so at the end of the day, figure out what you can do. If you can't do it, then keep it in. If you can do it, we need to move
I'll
on.
flip.
We have,
Wendy said she was pro.
I'll
keeping
flip.
it, so
well,
now
do what you can do, and we'll go from there. This is just general consensus. The other thing to look into, because I'm not sure how we budgeted for it, is the personal property tax that Councilman Davis had mentioned. That should be much more this year than it was last year. Okay.
Remember, you questioned it.
Well, no, and part of that was the sticker fee, the registration fee.
Yeah, I think some of
And
that-
so,
but the other was.
but then the other one was that's going to be much more significant. So make sure that we have that. So call Christie and make sure that
I was
we're.
gonna say, I don't have that
Whatever
file
the
yet.
county does. If
Yeah.
the county reduces the rate to offset the outrageous prices of vehicles, then we need to do the same thing. I will not wear that one, Phil Muscovic. That is on you. Nope. Prices are ridiculous now.
Well, that's a discussion we have now then.
I would say that we match the county. If the board of supervisors and the commissioner of revenue in the county says that Blackstone's already making that adjustment, I don't want to be the only one in the county that says, heck no, we're gonna ride these ridiculous prices on vehicles and we're gonna tax the crap out of them. No one else in the county is doing that, to be clear. It doesn't appear that they are.
Okay. So that was revenue, but now it's not. So what are other thoughts?
Still revenue, it's just not a windfall additional revenue.
Well,
I'd brought up registration fee on rental properties.
no. Right now the question is.
You're talking about income.
Councilman Davis just brought up a new one. The
I don't think you can do that.
So the personal property tax is projected to increase significantly,
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. Real estate too.
or the revenue brought in from the personal property tax. The county and the town of Blackstone are both reducing their rates.
Looking at reducing their rates to maintain where they were last year. I don't know that that decision's been made.
So they're looking at equalizing the rate.
For this year, and then looking at it again next year, depending on what the market's doing.
Okay, very quickly, Councilman Yates.
The other side of that coin, Sean, is that I think every citizen realizes and almost would have to acknowledge that the cost of living for them is going up. The cost of taking care of the town for us is also going up. Everything's going up. It's not, you know, and I get what you're saying, but, you know.
My truck is worth 39% more than it was the day I bought it. 39, I paid 38 grand for my truck, it's worth 50, with triple the mileage on it. It's not even in the realm of fairness, the prices that are on vehicles, because it's market driven. And if the county and our other towns in the county elect to do an equalization to make this work, you talk about optics.
I agree with Sean. If that happens, then we should.
So if the county and the town of Blackstone equalize, we want to equalize. What
I would have to look at it.
thoughts from
Study it.
this end
In general or
on that question?
no?
No, not equalize? Okay.
I would wait and see what the county and Blackstone does.
So you don't want to answer the question until you see what
I
happens?
see what they do, and then we make the call.
And then we see
Okay.
the figures, you know.
We're not in the same financial state that they're in either.
Okay, so we'll hold off on that question. Let's
Keep the status quo until.
okay keep the
Is,
status quo
are
until
we
then.
keeping the $10,000 for the council planning session in the budget? Is that still, has that been talked about?
$10,000.
It just says council planning work sessions, 10 grand?
It didn't cost that much.
I think it's kind of ridiculous. We got $40,000 in there for professional services. And I said this last time, I don't see where we've gotten $40,000 worth of value. I'd like to see it itemized. I mean, that's 50 grand right there that I feel like can just be, we got a finance director now that can take over a lot of these professional services lines that we've got in there. I mean, that's just 50,000, which isn't a lot, but to me, that's just right off the top.
So
We paid Davenport like 15, and I don't see where we got a dime's worth of value from it. 55 to Berkeley for the.
We had entirely
ridiculous.
too many studies and consultants.
So where do they flow into the proposed budget?
It just says professional services and different places.
That's all kinds of,
I'd like to see that more specific.
What line item do we budget into to pay for Davenport and Berkeley property?
I think that's all, it's all combined.
It's all just rolled into
probably
professional services.
fall
don't
under
have the
professional
itemized-
services.
When I wrote this, I had only been here a couple of
Probably a
weeks,
lot more.
and
we
I
probably
relied
spend
on
a lot
Brian
more.
Thrower a lot to give me insight on some.
I think it's wasted.
We have to look
Just
at
me.
water studies. We're going to need.
Well, I don't know,
We
that
are,
if
right,
you're
right.
talking
So,
about the retreat
that-
thing, I think we learned, well,
So
but we have to break that out.
we can probably reduce the January planning session to lower than, if it's still at 10,000, to
Yeah,
whatever
y'all
we
did
spent
not
last year.
use
We
anywhere
didn't
near
use
that.
10,000.
Using anywhere near that.
And another point is we will likely be paying Hurt and Profit money this year for additional studies related to water analysis. So we need to keep that in mind.
The only thing I would say about professional services, some of the problems we're having are the result of, over the years, trying to figure it out ourselves and not seeking expert. And I agree with Aaron that not all of it has been beneficial, but I would not like to just say, we're not going to seek expert advice. Well, and that'll be done.
55,000?
Yeah, that was.
When Ann's been doing it for free all these years and did a great job.
Nobody paid any
not do a
attention
great
to it
job.
when I did it.
Okay, let's,
But my reason for that
Yeah.
question is, I think we spent a significant amount conglomerated all of these studies, and I think it was probably a lot more than a $40,000 figure. Maybe
this
that's
is the
why
ne-
it was only 40, because he was anticipating less this year.
Yeah, well, some of those things were one-time shots.
Chris, could you reach out to the county and see if they've in fact planned on increasing their sanitation fee, that pass-through? If not, then we don't have to raise our sanitation fee by $3. Hopefully they haven't, and we can talk about the legality of that again, but that's, anyway. We can add budget to the,
Work session?
well, no, to the work session or to the agenda for the regular meeting, but is there anything else on budget for right now before we start to move into our regular meeting? We have 3 minutes.
Refer to everybody else, I think those were the big ones.
Yeah, I think it's good, other than that.
Jay, did you have any input or anything you saw on there that you?
I took some notes, but yeah, I'm good.
So when would we anticipate,
Finalizing,
yeah,
voting approval.
voting?
Added to our work session agenda. It has to
On
be
the
approved
28th?
before
Has to be
July
before
1.
July, so the work session is on the 28th.
Hoping to get it done tonight.
Do we want to meet again before?
Or do we want to, can we do it tonight?
I would like to do it tonight.
What'd you say, Jay, we can?
You can.
Else, adjustments wise, or anything like that? I think we covered most of what I had concerned.
Well, just, Ann had voting on it tonight. You, how would that work with the?
Well, you've already advertised it. Was it on the agenda? I think it was on the
We can
agenda.
amend the agenda. Actually, it is on the, it is on the agenda.
Yeah, it's on
Just
the
the
agenda,
changes that we made,
so you
budget
could.
with the changes
And then you
that we
could pick
made.
those, up, each. The
Well,
police
I mean, are you gonna come
department
to
position,
the-
that could be an open
But are
until
you gonna come to
filled.
the next work session to vote on it? I mean, we can't vote on it, we gotta vote on it
Right, yeah,
before
so-
July.
So the 28th,
Okay,
during our work session, we'll vote on the budget.
that's fine.
28th or 21st?
It's the 28th. We do have a meeting the 21st,
The
but it's not.
28th is is the work session, Phil. The 21st is a public hearing? I have
Public hearing for the comprehensive plan.
for the comp plan.
Okay, so do we want to add budget to the agenda for the comp plan? Just to receive it and any last minute so that it's ready to be voted on? So
I
that
don't-
gives
I'd
you,
rather not wait until literally,
The day-
like 2 days prior.
Yeah, I mean,
well, no, so we would
Probably
receive
won't have
it next
everybody here
week
either.
for the, at the planning,
Yeah, I can get it ready in a week,
okay. And
Okay.
but I'd rather have a working budget adopted so I can start.
So the 21st would be better for you? Okay.
Okay, so if we can just have it then beforehand, just to, okay,
Absolutely.
excellent. Okay,
So it's being added to the 21st?
correct.
I don't know if I'll
To
be here,
vote?
but
If that's the will of council. Yes,
What exactly are we adding on the 21st? The budget?
receiving the budget
And voting on it?
and voting.
Okay.
So that is now more than a planning session. Or whatever we call that. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order on that? Okay, then the
Chris, can you get it done by the end of this meeting?
uh,
You're trying to do
budget
it?
work session is
Okay.
adjourned. And now I'm going to, we are in, well, we're not called to order yet, so.
Just give me one.
Okay,
That benefits me, so I can.
sure.
Thank you.
So you can type it in and have it by the end of this meeting?